Story of the Masked Stranger. In the bustling city of Silverbrook, where everyone was in a rush and appearances mattered more than anything, a man named Elias was often the subject of ridicule. He wore tattered clothes, had unkempt hair, and carried a battered backpack. People assumed he was homeless or just another drifter with no future. Every morning, he sat on the same park bench, reading an old book with pages falling apart. Commuters, businessmen, and students passed by, sneering at him or avoiding him altogether. Some whispered, some laughed, and others simply ignored his existence. One rainy evening, a young woman named Claire hurried toward the subway station when she tripped and spilled her papers everywhere. Important legal documents were now wet and scattered. Frantically, she tried to gather them before they got ruined. To her surprise, Elias stepped forward, knelt down, and carefully picked up the documents, handling them with care. "You might want to dry these between paper towels," he advised, handing them back. Claire hesitated. His voice was calm and intelligent, nothing like she expected. Thank you," she stammered, expecting him to walk away. Instead, he continued, "You're a lawyer, right? You're dealing with a civil rights case. This clause here," he pointed to a section of the document. "You could strengthen your argument by referencing the 1986 Supreme Court ruling on equal employment rights." Claire's eyes widened. How do you know that?" Elias chuckled. "I used to be a lawyer." Shocked, Claire sat down beside him. "You used to be? What happened?" Elias sighed. "A few years ago, I had everything, a successful career, a house, a family. But when my wife and daughter died in a car accident, I lost the will to do anything. I left everything behind and wandered. Books became my only comfort." Claire felt a lump in her throat. She had judged him the way everyone else did, by his appearance. Yet here he was, more knowledgeable than many lawyers she knew, carrying a painful past no one cared to ask about. From that day on, Claire and Elias became friends. She brought him new books, and he helped her with legal strategies. Eventually, Claire convinced him to return to law. And with her support, Elias cleaned up and started working at a legal aid center, helping those who couldn't afford lawyers. When the people of Silverbrook saw Elias standing in a courtroom once again, dressed in a sharp suit, they were in shock. The same man they had mocked was now the one fighting for justice. Moral of the story: a person's worth is not measured by their appearance, but by their character, knowledge, and experiences. True greatness often hides behind the masks of hardship, and only those who look beyond the surface will see the brilliance within. Story of the unnoticed artist. In the heart of a bustling city, there was an old man named Samuel who sat every day in front of a cafe, sketching quietly in his worn-out notebook. His clothes were faded, his shoes had holes, and his unshaven face made him look like just another homeless man. People passed by without a second glance. Some pitied him, others ignored him, and a few even sneered, assuming he was a beggar wasting his time. One day, a young woman named Emily, an aspiring art student, sat at the cafe near him. She watched as he carefully moved his pencil, sketching the buildings and people around him with incredible detail. Curiosity got the best of her, and she walked up to him. "That's amazing," she said, pointing at his sketchbook. Samuel looked up, surprised. "Thank you," he said softly. Emily hesitated, then asked, "Did you ever study art?" He chuckled. "Once, a long time ago." Feeling a strange connection, Emily sat beside him. "Why don't you sell your work? You could make a fortune." Samuel smiled but didn't answer. Instead, he flipped through his sketchbook, showing Emily breathtaking drawings, portraits that looked almost alive, cityscapes full of emotion, and scenes that told silent stories. Emily was stunned. "These belong in a gallery." Samuel sighed. "They once were." Curious, Emily pressed him for more. After a long pause, he finally said, "I was once a renowned artist. My paintings were displayed in the best galleries. But fame and fortune changed the people around me. Friends became strangers, and money became more important than art. One day, I walked away from it all, choosing peace over pressure. Now I draw for myself." Emily was speechless. The man she like everyone else, had ignored was a hidden legend. Determined, she took pictures of his sketches and shared them online. The post went viral within days. Reporters and art lovers were searching for the mystery artist. When they found Samuel, galleries begged him to display his work again. Though hesitant, Samuel finally agreed, but on his own terms. His new exhibition wasn't about money or fame. It was about reminding people that art, like people, should never be judged by the surface. As Emily stood beside him, the grand opening, she realized something. She had almost ignored the greatest artist she had ever met, just because of how he looked. Moral of the story: true talent, wisdom, and greatness are not always wrapped in wealth or fine clothes. If you judge by appearance alone, you may walk past the most extraordinary people without ever knowing their worth.